Retirement Planners Happy Half Hour. As most of you probably know, many at least, we have been coming to every Thursday at 4:30 since like the middle of 2020, when we decided we couldn't get together with our clients and wanted to, kind of have a chance to say hi and pass on information. And we started this, and we've gotten together 4:30 ever since. With me today, as you can see, is not my daughter Samantha, Sam, a partner in the business, but Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan is actually, as we speak, sitting just pretty much above me here at our office at 620 Market. Many of you may know, but Jonathan, his father is John Taylor, CLC Financial Services. His father kind of mentored me into the business 20 some years ago when I switched from being a advanced profit analysis consultant engineer guy and moved into retirement planning. And John and I have purchased this building together. Jonathan's here as his son, been involved a lot of experience in health insurance and long-term care and Medicare supplements and life insurance and other things. So today we're going to talk about Medicare supplements and Medicare, what you got to do when you get to 65 and the changes you can make. But we always like to start with something fun. And behind the scenes there, I'm pretty sure somewhere we have Amy. Are you here, Amy?
I am. Hello.
You are. And Amy, we always like to celebrate what day it is.
We do.
What day is today?
Today is National M&M Day. Yes. M&Ms.
These guys here?
It is those guys. I didn't grab my M&Ms. I do have a little bag, and I didn't get around to grabbing them, but it is little M&Ms Day. Yes. What is your favorite flavor? Do you have a favorite flavor?
The ones with peanut butter inside are always good.
That's my favorite flavor too.
Favorite.
That's my favorite flavor. I love the peanut butter M&Ms.
Jonathan, do you have a favorite flavor?
The ones that are not melted. I like all of them.
Okay. Yeah, you can't get mad at M&Ms. I mean, yeah, but they're not supposed to melt. I mean, at least not in your hand, right? That's what they say. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I thought
I'm over here work. So, yeah.
When I heard it was M&M Day, I thought it would bear to do a little more research, and so I actually had Sarah, my director of First Impressions, take a look and see what she could find about M&Ms. And there was a lot of interesting stuff we found out about M&Ms. First, they were developed in 1941, but actually they were based upon a candy called Smarties that was developed by a British company for the Spanish Civil War. So it goes back even further than 1941. Now, you may or may not wonder this. It's one of pondering the things in life, but what does M&M stand for? And it actually stands for Forrest Mars. Forrest Mars was the son of the Mars Company founder, and Bruce Murray, who is the son of Hershey's chocolate president. So for what it's worth, that's what they're named after, the sons of two candy candy creators or candy presidents. During World War II, they were sold exclusively to the military. In fact, here is a advertisement. This is from, I think, 1943 for M&Ms, which also kind of says, selling something with a pretty girl has never gone out of style. But now they are 100% at war because they devoted all their production to the war. They were originally from Newark, New Jersey. Half of them are now made in Tennessee. Melt in your mouth, not your hands, slogan came from 1949, for what it's worth. The peanut M&Ms were developed in 1954, and now they're sold in over 100 countries, and there's over 50 flavors. So here's, if you now you know everything there is to know about M&Ms, So I thought I'd just share that with you, um, but we're going to go on and John, give us for those who maybe aren't quite there yet, give them a little background on Medicare and what it is.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, there is when you work, generally people who are working Americans here in the United States, of course, that's redundant, but when you work, you pay taxes. You have to work here long enough. While working, generally at least 10 years, you qualify for what's called a Medicare Part A and Part B, and sometimes it's called premium free Part A Medicare. So it's $0 for most people for your Part A. That's if you work generally at least 10 years. Now, for people who haven't worked in the workforce for at least 10 years, they actually have to pay a premium. So, but generally it's $0 for most people. But that covers hospital expenses. And along with that comes another part, and that's called Part B. Part B is medical insurance, and that is $170 for most people. It's actually going down to $164.90 for 2023, or higher, depending on your income. So that's one of the things we like to look at is determine what your cost is. It's what they call IRMA, income related monthly adjusted premium for your Part B expense.
Okay, so let's just start big picture. Part A pays for what?
Sure. Part A pays for the hospital expenses. We can go through those, but essentially there's a deductible that you have to meet before services are covered.
And Part B pays for?
So Part A has a deductible and Part B has a deductible. They both have deductibles that have to be met before services are start to be covered.
And Part B pays for doctors and stuff like that?
Yeah, so Part A covers for inpatient stays, skilled nursing care facilities, home care, home health care, hospice care. The Part B covers costs for services like co-insurance, clinical lab services, home health care.
And they charge us for Part B. They charge us $170 or maybe a little more less next year for Part B. Everybody pays that, more if it's income dependent, more if you earn a lot of money.
You got it. You got it.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Now,
there's an expense.
Because they don't pay for everything, people could still get in trouble if they get sick after they're 65 and they're on Medicare. What do you do to cover those extra expenses?
Well, you can keep what's called original Medicare, and all that is A and B. However, there's deductibles that have to be met before the plan covers anything. And the issue being is that there's these deductibles you have to pay, and it's not just once in a year deductible. These deductibles have benefit periods, so they reset. So you're not just meeting a $1,500 deductible. Next year it's going to be $1,600. That's going up. It resets.
What can you buy to cover you in case you get in that situation?
Sure. So what a lot of people do to fill that gap from what A and B doesn't cover, what they do to get, they supplement something that A and B doesn't cover, and that's called that can be a supplemental plan, or a med sup. Now, one thing A and B does not cover is prescription drug coverage. So if you don't sign up for that, they also hit you with a penalty. So if anything, at least get your Part D drug plan. But yeah, your Medicare supplement plan supplements what your A and B does not cover. Mhm.
And you can get the Part D supplement is what helps cover the drugs.
You got it. You got it.
That's one way to do it. You can get this Medicare supplement that can cover plans. But then there's a second way to do this. And how does that work?
Correct. Yeah. So there's a second way to do it. That's called what's called Advantage plans, or Plan C, as in Charlie. And those plans essentially combine A, B, and fill in that gap and include a prescription drug plan all into one single plan. So essentially, that plan is covering A, B, supplement, and D to a certain degree. And now these Advantage plans, as we've seen all over TV, we've seen, Joe Namath, and we've seen.
We're going to come and look at that next, the pitfalls of that.
Yeah, but a lot of those guys, these are the plans that they're discussing are the Medicare Advantage plans, and they're typically dependent on the area that you live. They're not available to everybody, so it really determines where you live at. But if it's available in your area, it may be a viable option, and that's one of the things we look at.
And if I understand it right, it's where essentially a hospital doctor group in an area will get together and they get the money that would have normally gone to A and B, and they create a kind of covers a wide swath of things using that money. So it could cost you less or nothing. Instead of paying money for the Medicare supplements, you can get Medicare Advantage for less cost or no cost at all above the 170 you pay to Part B.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
And so that's it sounds really good, but I always know that everything has an advantage and disadvantage. And if it's such a great deal, am I giving something up? What do I give up if I go take the Medicare Advantage plan?
Sure. So some of the things that come along with Medicare Advantage plans, they tend to act like our plans that before we turn 65. So those plans we have before we turn 65 generally have a network of doctors, and they have copays, and they have a deductible. Well, the Medicare Advantage plans act a lot like the under 65 plans, in that you need to pick a plan that your doctor is in network with. If you're not in network with that doctor and you have a planned visit other than emergency, it may not be covered. So that's one of the pitfalls. Again, this plan has copays. Some of the things with the supplemental plans is you don't have copays. So copays, the network, and a little bit of a deductible. So just all things to be aware of.
So this plan here looks good, but there could be copays. And this plan here has really no copays. You pay more up front, but you may not be nickel and dime as time goes on.
Yeah, correct. But again, for a lot of people who are on health insurance now, they have copays to see a doctor, they have deductibles. So, essentially it's a spin off of that. But if you're looking for the best, the largest network, and you don't want to have to worry about copays at a pretty good price, boy, those Medicare supplement plans can be a good fit for people.
If someone sits down with you, and first, you just so you know, Jonathan does this. This is what a big part of his living, of his business. So he's got a lot of experience meeting with people. And Jonathan, if a lot of people come and see you, what proportion pick the traditional Medicare supplement versus the Medicare Advantage? What's the mix that typically would get each?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically we see about a 50-50 of each. Generally people who are healthy and in good health and have a few doctors and don't take much prescriptions, those Advantage plans can be a very affordable option. the supplemental plans, if you're not such concerned about, what the cost is, obviously those are going to be more of the Cadillac plans. So yeah, depends.
So how do you determine if someone comes in, how do you determine or help them choose, help them decide which one's right for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tend to, I take a little bit longer with each person because to do a good job, you really have to look at who their doctors are, what prescriptions they're taking, and what is it that they're looking for. A lot of people, the older we get, health insurance tends to be one of the biggest expenses when we get ready for retirement. So building this in along with David as part of a financial portfolio can really help you and set you up for success if done the right way. But yeah,
So someone who's pretty, good and healthy, doesn't take a lot of medicines, maybe they just moved here and they don't have a doctor here. They don't have a doctor, a specialist they see, Medicare Advantage, maybe they're great for them because they get more. But someone who has a specific doctor they want, who's not in the Medicare Advantage or takes drugs that it doesn't cover, it could get expensive if you get somebody that doesn't cover the drugs. They'll want the traditional one instead.
absolutely. You got it. Yep, absolutely. That the network of, as long as a doctor accepts Medicare, you really don't have to worry about a network with those supplemental plans. You are in network. As long as that doctor accepts Medicare, you're good to go.
Now, another example I know of, and this is for those of you out there to think about, is if, for instance, you may want to go to Duke or maybe someplace in Minnesota for heart surgery. You got a heart problem, you want to go see, the best there is. They're probably not in your local Medicare group, and so the supplemental plan will let you do that instead. And so there's another reason you may want it. Now, help me. I want to touch on a couple other things, and then we're going to say hi to everybody that we haven't done that yet today, but we're going to say hi to everybody that's here. But I want to cover one or two other things here. One is if I'm over here in C, and let's just say I decide I want to move, I get sick, and I decide I'd rather go to the Medicare supplement, the standard plan, the more Cadillac plan. Can I do that? Can I just switch at any time under any condition?
Sure. So one thing to definitely consider is if you enroll in an Advantage plan, most of the Advantage plans, not all, there are always exceptions. And this is what we go over, and we go over which plans allow you to do this and which plans don't. But if you sign up for a Medicare Advantage plan, should your health change and you can't answer no to the health questions, well, then you're going to have to hang on to that Medicare Advantage plan. You lose the option to switch to a supplemental plan for most plans. So when picking an Advantage plan, that's definitely something to consider. You don't want to be stuck in a plan that if your health changes, you can't get out of during the next open enrollment. There are some Advantage plans that do allow you to switch even if your health does change, but you really need to go, we need to go over plans with you and explain those plans, because not all insurance is created equal, essentially. So just kind of understanding how those plans work.
And that brings us to this part. And I prepared this because I did a workshop. I did a workshop in, I do a workshop, a retirement workshop, and I started them up again this year. And I dug around and found a recent Wall Street Journal article, like 3-4 weeks ago. And they talked about how Medicare Advantage plans are marketed. And those of you probably recognize this guy here. He is Joe Namath, and this is Mr. Star Trek. And they've been on, you probably have seen them on TV in the past. And right about now, because you could start changing October 15th or something.
Yeah.
And
So
what they do, what they do, tell them how the marketing works, Jonathan.
Well, first and foremost, the commercials are not from Medicare or from the government. In fact, a Medicare agency or basically a third-party marketing agency pays Namath to advertise Medicare Advantage plans that beneficiaries can purchase from local agents. So essentially, this is not a government or Medicare push commercial. This is a private marketing company and basically they get you to call in and they sell the lead to a local
So
agent.
when I call
Yeah.
that number is sold to somebody else that's going to sit on the phone and try to sell me their Medicare Advantage plan.
You got it. You got it. They're bundling that up and they're selling that package to people who are willing to buy that essentially leads.
And you told me a really interesting story where someone called them and said, hey, can I have your Medicaid number? I want to see if you can get what you deserve, you know?
You got it.
Happened? What happened then?
Yeah, so we actually had someone who called and because the commercials look enticing and attractive. However, these are Medicare Advantage plans that you really need to double check them. But what they did is they asked for their Medicare number to find out. They told them, hey, we'd like to find out if you qualify. What's your Medicare number? We can tell you. And then after the client gave them their Medicare number, they essentially enrolled them into the plan. They sold that and then bundled that and included their Medicare plan to that agent. Agent moved it and changed them plans without them even knowing it. And then when the client calls us and says, hey, what's going on? Why did I get new cards in the mail? And we're like, well, did you call? And they're like, yeah, but I just wanted to find out what I was eligible for. And we're like, well, did you give them your Medicare number? And they go, well, yeah, they had to tell me if I was eligible. And that's kind of where you slap your forehead. And they got in big trouble for switching people without their consent.
This is big business. The Wall Street Journal said 2 companies, Brokers Go Health and Select Quote, just raised 1.2 billion by creating a new public company to sell this. So many baby boomers turning 65, this has become big business. And I'll tell you, I'll give you my own personal advice, and this is what I tell at the workshops. If you are turning 65, and I know those of you who have turned 65, you have gotten enough mail in the past year that you could, if you got a wood stove, you can heat your house this winter. You know, everybody's trying to sell you theirs, and to do a good job, someone's got to spend the time with you to get you to know. You go find an agent that you can sit across from, look them in the eye, and they spend an hour with you or a good amount of time to what's your doctors, what's your medicines, to make sure you're making the right decision. If you talk to someone on the phone, you may get someone that wants to sell you what they're being paid to sell and may not do as good a job. So my advice, doesn't cost any more to do it any less on the phone. It's all kind of controlled. Find someone that you can sit down and talk to of their own.
Yeah, whether it's me or anyone else, I would say, you need to make sure that person is definitely independent and that they're looking at several different companies and carriers that best fit your needs in that area. And that's different for everybody. There is no broad stroke that covers everybody the same. I'll say this and then but one of the things that they advertise is extra benefits. They talk about home delivered meals. However, with those, you must personally qualify to receive them. And those plans must be available in your area. So it's a very broad paint stroke that they're painting, and it doesn't necessarily pertain to everybody. Kind of got them in trouble a little bit, but hopefully we can clear some of that up.
Fair amount of sort of bait and switch.
Yeah.
I hate the bait and switch. Gambling dealers, yikes.
Yeah. We had
So,
a,
and by the way, if you would like to get a hold of Jonathan, and literally Jonathan sits above us, the easiest thing to do is to call our office, 815-3100. Amy will put it into
I
the
already
notes
did
there.
in the comments. Yeah.
And we'll set you up with a phone call or a visit with Jonathan to get your questions answered, anything you may have. You're coming up to the point where this next 6 weeks or so, next couple of months, you'll be able to maybe change your plan if it's the right thing to do and at least do a comparison. And it's something a good agent will kind of do for you every year. So
Jonathan's a good
that's,
guy. I can attest to that. He really is a
I'll
good
take
guy.
it. I
so,
appreciate it. All
and
right.
let me just take a moment and say hi. Brenda has joined us. Brad has joined us. Rick, it is good to see you. Ed, Bill is back. Bruce, and I guess he has been. We have not been hit by the power outage here. Apparently, downtown has an outage. Jay and Carter, once again, are here as part of our regular groups. Dan is here. He's probably hunting in Georgia right now, with a Sam Adams to accompany him. Miranda has
I'm
joined
drinking
us.
a Sam Adams too.
I'm drinking hibiscus tea as usual, but I got something that has this color later on in my near future. Um, and someone asked how do you know if plans cover your prescriptions? That's where you talk to someone like Jonathan, because it's complicated. Some are, some aren't. Fred's saying hi, and I see Teresa is here as always. Jean
That's my mom.
and Debbie are here. It's just good to see you. But we are up at 4:58. We're coming up to the top of the hour. I hope this was helpful. Medicare, and we got into the IRMA a little bit. We're going to do a whole thing on the cost of Medicare, the surcharges, and how it varies on how much you make and what they use: adjustable income, taxable income, modified adjustable gross income, how that all impacts you, and how it actually has a lot to do, is often impacting your strategy for Roth conversions. So we'll do that in the future. Probably have some in the past, the last 114 or so of these we've done. But Amy, it is time for our last item. And what is that?
It is. It is. Yes. Yes. Oof, there's my crazy hair. But look, I have a Sam Adams. It's a Jacko. It's a pumpkin one. Look at that. They're hard to find, but yeah. But
Pumpkin
it
beer.
is. I have to do my own I have look at Matt, my boyfriend got me a little, we have all the entries in here. So my own little drum roll. So all the entries, we give away the
You know, if
two
you kind of said you're coming, you said you want to be entered, you recommended to people and told us we throw in more things, and then we draw out for 2 bottles of wine, or the beer is an option as well.
We do, yes, 2 bottles of wine shipped directly to you from Fermental. So I didn't even get to do our little Fermental tag. It's a little difficult. I have to give kudos to Sam for this one. So shipped directly to you. All the entries are in here. We'll do the little stirring, and I'll pull the little name here and pull it out. Shipped directly to you from Fermental Bottle Shop, which is now, I guess is it the Cargo District? They're 17th Street. Yes. So,
Yeah.
drum roll. And the winner is, Josie. I can't say the last name because we can't do that, but Josie H. So yeah,
Josie Eighth, congratulations.
Yes.
And Amy will be calling you to see if, to find out what your favorite, what a good wine would be for you. So
yeah, we'll go through the questions, and Steve will hand select the wine and send it directly to you.
Make sure she's 21.
Yeah, we will
yeah,
definitely.
luckily most of our clients are
Our
once again, if you would like to talk to Jonathan about about your Medicare, call us 815-3100. We'll set that up for you. And next week, I believe we are going to talk about the hidden taxes in retirement.
We
There
do.
are
I
some
was going to say that.
taxes in retirement that you may not even know you're paying. And that is our topic for next week. So you want to be here Thursday at 4:30 for that.
We will. We'll have
And
that.
so
And
with
with
that,
that,
it's a
well, I,
toast to everyone. I hope you had a good week. I hope you have a great weekend. And we
yeah,
will see you we'll
we'll,
see you
we'll see you
next
next
Thursday.
week. Yeah, see you. Everyone, take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.